Toasole Helava Vilsoni no hene malha I tumuta mo inafa o to erua le petuili ma le Via Vilsoni o to fata fane malha ma inafa o to henda yo hene I tumuta. Today I will be interviewing Lorelena as part of the series that we'll be making for Ryan's.
Noia tēnā ngā koa o toasole Lorelena Viki. Ngota le mafua on Akanisi ma Eward Kulasia. Ngoa su e niue, fup e fiti, ka no e nusirangi. O te hunta, hene tōkoi ma saule, ma o te whata whaniue. Ngō ino se Sydney, Viki, yo whane pepche ma motusa, Foexia.
So Lena, who are your biggest inspirations in the NZRF community or even in general?
My biggest inspiration would have to be my parents. I think making the decision to move to a new country when you don't know many people there, probably with a lot of doubt in your mind, I think is a really courageous step, and especially to make that sacrifice so that your kids can have better opportunities than what you had. So yeah, they inspire me and continue to do so today.
What inspires or motivates you in life?
So I think, reflecting back on my parents' journey, I could, being the eldest, I could see quite a lot of how their journey has allowed me to have those opportunities. So that's always in the back of my mind. So any opportunity that I do have, come across in life, I make sure that I make it, the best that I can make it. And in terms of, really embracing things. Of course, you have doubt yourself, but yeah, I always reflect back on my parents' sacrifice. So, that helps me kind of step forward confidently.
So Lorelena, what is your role in the NZRF community?
In the NZRF community, my role is Secretariat and Operations Lead. So part of my role is to support the work that the New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship does within the community. So I'm quite involved in coordinating pieces of work across subgroups. So part of my role is also supporting our chairperson and assistant chairperson and our leadership team. And then the other thing I get involved in is liaising with third parties, so Ministry for Pacific Peoples and some of our lawyers. And I also take care of our registration for the New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship.
How long have you been in this role and what is your biggest takeaway?
I've been in the role for over 6 years now. One of the things that I've been privileged to do is take a lot of leadership roles throughout the New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship. So I've also been the National Youth Group leader. I've also been the Wellington Youth Group, I'm Wellington leader. And so along the way, I've worked with a lot of people who have given me sort of that inspiration to kind of take up leadership and continue to do work for the community. My biggest takeaway would be, just to get involved in some way. I wouldn't say that I'm the best at speaking my Rotuman language, but there is a way that I can contribute to the community in other ways. So yeah, I encourage everyone to take it up.
So following up from your question, I know for us as New Zealanders, we're far away from home, and people usually in Fiji and Rotuma, they breathe, they live the culture. So for us New Zealanders, us Rotumans living in New Zealand or in overseas, we try stay as connected as much as we can from the culture. So following up from your question, how do you stay connected to our Rotuman culture?
Okay, well, I've been fortunate enough to grow up in the New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship. My parents were, part of the original group when Whiko Langi was, around and had established the group. So from an early age, I think I had, that passion for community and language and culture instilled in me. But for me, my own personal journey, I make sure that I get involved in the community, support the community in the different initiatives that we have rolling out within the different regions. We speak Rotuman at home as well. It's part of our family environment that we also pass on that culture and knowledge to our little ones. So I'm also learning along with them. And I'm also, happen to marry a Rotuman, so he always keeps me grounded. So yeah, I am surrounded by so many different experiences. So it's really, it's not hard for me to connect with my Rotuman culture because it's all around me.
Lena, so what is your profession?
So I work for a company that's based in New Zealand, Australia. My role is Head of Service Delivery. The company has a presence over in Dominican Republic and Indonesia as well. And so my team take care of customers. Essentially, when a customer, signs with us, my team are the ones who kind of take them through that onboarding journey and make sure that they can use all our products and services. In a previous lifetime leading up to this particular role, I actually started off as a receptionist, and then after a couple of weeks there was a job opening as a help desk technician, so I jumped to that. After that, I decided I wanted to be in testing, so I became a system tester, and then I became a team lead of a development company. Then I decided to do a bit of project management, so I switched to that. So in the technology space, there's quite a few roles, and I've done quite a bit. And along that journey, I came across someone who wanted to find a general manager of a messaging company. Applied for the role and got it, and that's kind of what led me to the journey now.
So following up from that question, how does it correlate to your role in the NZRF community?
Yeah, there are some similarities, for instance, in my work life, because your role is to help customers be the best that they can be using our products and services. In a similar way, my role within the community is helping our community kind of really take up, any of the programs that we have available, because the New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship is really a place that all Rotumans can belong. Like, when you come to New Zealand and you're Rotuman, quite often, you lose that sense of connection. So it's a place for us to kind of make sure that everyone is welcome, make sure everyone is, able to learn their culture and their language. So in a similar way, what we do for customers, we do for the community.
For example, someone wants to be a service delivery manager, what would you recommend for them to take or study in high school?
I think it's important that people study and complete their studies. I think that's really important because that shows the discipline that you need to have in a role such as service delivery. For the majority of people who are in this role, I think a lot of it is around just traits and strengths that you need to have. So I think it's more about being a very, people person, so very personable, very polite, and very, just self-aware. So for instance, when you're meeting with customers, you've got to pick up on the signs of, where the conversation is going and be prepared for the next part of that conversation. I think it's also really important that you are a really hard worker, that you're disciplined, and that you're a really good team player as well. So I think if you've got those sorts of traits and they are natural to you, then I think you'll be a good service delivery manager.
So Lena, out of all your roles that you've been a part of, what would be, say, your favorite role out of all of them?
I think my favorite one would be a systems tester. So in the technical world, there are different roles that help build a thing, a product, okay? And so you've got the business analysts who write how that thing should be built. And then you've got the software developers who build the thing that you need. And then you've got system testers who basically get paid to break that thing and make sure that we find all of the issues and all of the bugs before it makes it into production. So I thought, that was such a cool job because you get paid to break a whole bunch of things. So
that would be the place where you go and let your anger all
out. You can be quite creative and
Yeah.
you need to think outside the box. So I really enjoyed that role.
How does being a Rotuman influence your career path?
Okay, I think for my personal journey, there were three things that kind of stood against me. One, I was Pacific Island, and being a minority in the Pacific Island community. Two, I was female. And three, I was young compared to some of the other leaders in the company. So, along the way, one of the things that I've learned to overcome is just, having that confidence in yourself. I think sometimes because we're such a respectful culture and we're such a humble culture, at home you're taught to, be humble and listen and take your lead from your elders, which is really, really important in a home setting, in a community setting. But in the workplace, in the office, especially if you're in a leadership role, it kind of needs to reverse, where you have to actually be quite confident, you have to be outspoken, and you have to make decisions and lead a group of people. So along the way, I've had to kind of build that confidence up. I'm still shy in some places because of, you know, the way that I've been brought up, but at the same time, the way that I lead is like a combination of, you know, having to be that confident leader, but also being respectful of the people that you are leading.
Did the people who inspired you influence your career path?
Yes, they did. My dad especially. When I finished school, I actually wanted to become an accountant. And then a piece of software came out called Xero, which made it easier for businesses to actually do their own accountancy. So I needed a different career path to follow. And my dad is actually an engineer. And so he encouraged me to do an engineering paper. So I did some engineering papers at Polytech, and I was only one of two girls in a class full of 32, and all of them were men. And so I got inspired by, you know, just being part of that environment where there were only two girls. So I was really competitive back then. And so, yeah, that's kind of how my journey into the technical world started, as I started as studying for an engineering paper, and then developed from there.
So Lena, as a wrap up for this interview, do you have any last words for Haharumi?
Yes, I think three things. First thing, work hard. You know, though you're only going to reap the benefits if you work hard. The second thing is to never forget the people that have helped you along your journey. I think, you know, if you've had that helping hand from someone, it's important to stay connected to that person and not forget about them when you excel. And then the third thing is to always stay grounded. Whether that be through your faith or through family or through your relationships. Yeah, always stay humble, because there are lots of people, young people, for instance, looking up to you, and you want to set a good example. So yeah, I think if you've got those three and you help, those three things will guide you through your journey, whichever career path you decide to take. But yeah, I think as long as you're confident in yourself and you stay grounded, yeah, I think that will help you.
That wraps up our interview for today. Thank you, Lena, for coming and answering all of my questions.
No problem.
Shout out to
Colour Closet, Auntie Ravoy.
If you're watching this, thank you. And yeah, thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this interview and you hopefully took something away from this interview. So yeah, see you next time.
For next year.